So
Okay, lovely.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great time.
Okay, so hi everybody. So Barry's just asked me to pass on his apologies. He's having to look after his daughter today, so he's not available to host either. How is everybody? Are we all ready to go?
Yep, all good.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So the first speaker I've got on the list is it Bilasami? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is that?
Yeah, it's Ahmad.
All right. Okay. I think Jade's put your name the other way around. Are you ready to go, Ahmed?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, brilliant. So your talk is how to create a vision board.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. Lovely. Okay.
Can I start now?
Yeah. Sorry.
I was 12:35. I don't know. I just want to be sure.
Okay. I'm happy for you to start now if you're ready to start.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, sure.
I think
Right.
maybe Barry normally more of a talk. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ahmad. I'm going to be sharing my screen right now.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Ahmad, and I'm a software engineer at M-Pharma. Interesting thing is that this is my first lightning talk ever, not just on MAM. It's my first lightning talk ever. So yeah. So apologies if there are any mistakes or challenges here and there. Yeah, I'm part of my vision board for this year is to engage in more lightning talks or more talks generally with MAM and other organizations that I belong to. So I'll be speaking about vision boarding, how to create a vision board, and yeah, I don't know how new that word is to most of us here, but yeah, I think I'll just go step by step, following through my slides. So a vision board is like a declaration or manifestation of yourself, how you see yourself in a specific time in the future. So you're doing that, using pictures and writings, so it could be, okay, how do you see yourself in a month's time? What are the things that you expect to be doing in a month's time, or maybe in a year's time, or maybe 5 years time or 10 years time? It's up to you when you are creating a vision board. So timing too is also kind of important, because you're actually working towards a particular time. So why do we need a vision board? Why we have been living life without for someone who has not used a vision board before, he or she has been living life quite well. So why do I need a vision board? So what a vision board does for you is part of the thing it does for you is to create focus in one's life. I don't want to, because I don't know how most of us have our backgrounds. I don't know our backgrounds. I don't know our beliefs. And so I don't want to delve into a lot of things about saying what the universe is doing and how the universe responds to, some of those things. I don't want to delve into those things, although I believe in those things, but I don't want to have to, force those ideas on anyone here. But I believe a vision board kind of creates a kind of focus where it helps you to know these are the things I want to do for myself or for my life in a particular year, or maybe in a month, or I usually prefer a year, because that seems a bit scalable, looking at things that one is doing, whereby you are not too restricted. If you have a month, a year seems like ample space for you to make mistakes and get up and try things again and again, right? So Another thing that a vision board does for you is clarity. It helps you to know this is what I want. It clarifies, it helps you to go into details because you are also taking pictures of, take for instance, someone says, okay, I want to be able to go out for, travel around the world. Is able to list out, maybe take pictures of, or cut out pictures from a magazine of maybe Paris, London, other interesting tourist spots that he wants to go to, and is able to paste them on his or her vision board. That creates a kind of clarity of this is what I want to do. I know Meet a Mentor too, it's also a space for tech inclined people. So I am, for a good example would be for a new developer or someone who is transitioning from one field into tech and says, okay, by the end of the year, I want to be a Java engineer, and is able to, like, okay, just put maybe a picture. It doesn't have to, it matters. What matters is how he feels about that particular image or picture or writing. You can just put it there that I want to be a Java engineer by the end of the year. I want to be a Spring Boot engineer by the end of the year. Another thing that the vision board does for you is to create this kind of consciousness of what you want. Typically, a vision board is usually placed in a place that you see frequently and consistently. And so what it helps you to do is that every day you wake up and you see that those things, and it kind of brings about this consciousness of what you really want to do, where you are going to, what are the things that you want to achieve every single day. You keep on thinking about that thing, and as you think, the more you think about it, the more ideas about how to achieve that particular thing come. So a good example is the one I gave earlier about someone who's transitioning into tech and is thinking about, okay, how do I become a Java engineer? When he thinks about it, the more he thinks about it, he thinks about, okay, is this a worthy step to take? Is it worth it? How hard is it going to be for me? Is it something that I should involve myself in? And so this kind of pushes that person to ask questions, meet maybe a fellow engineer and ask more, how easy is it for me to get into this field? Another day, he goes on to say, okay, where should I start from? How do I start? And another day is, okay, should I go through a boot camp or should I learn online or stuff like that? And that consciousness begins to manifest into actions and kind of gets him closer to his or her goal. Yeah, so okay, yeah. So creating your vision board, which is why we have this talk. So the question would be, okay, I have a vision, I have a board, and let me just explain. So it could be anything. Your vision board could be placed on anything. It could be a cardboard that is pasted on your wall. It could be something that you frame. It could be anything, but it shouldn't be too complex, so that it's something that you can move around. But it should be so a cardboard is a very good way to start. Just make it simple, and you can divide it into different sections and put whatever it is you want to put into it. But at times, what the question is, what do I put on my vision board? So usually it goes with things that you really believe in, your core values. So for me, I'll use myself as an example, apart from what I have here in the slides. I kind of separate my goals or my vision board into like 5 different places or 5 different parts. So I'm a Muslim, and so I try to start with my spirituality. So I have my spirituality. I have like intellectualism, like how I build myself, my knowledge personally. I look into my finances too. That's like my economic goals for the year. I also look into community. So what are the things that I intend to do for my community? It doesn't have to be, like a wide community. How do I interact with my neighbors? It just deals with how you interact with other people. So how do I interact with my neighbor? How do I interact with my wife? How do I interact with my children? How do I improve that relationship with my family? And that is something that is really, really important. The last one is my health. And so that is something, how do I take care of my health? Do I go into, do I improve my diet? Do I improve my exercise? Those things. So for me, those are the 5 different parts that I divide my vision board into. So I have spirituality, intellectualism, economic goals, community, and health. But this is open to other people. You have personal goals. You can have your personal goals on your vision board. Going back to core values, maybe perhaps you want to start interacting more with people. Maybe perhaps you are not doing something that you really believe in. You want to start speaking out more. You feel like you have ideas that you want to share with people, and for some reason you have not been able to do that, and you want to find a way where you can actually express yourself much more. So those are kind of like things that are personal to you, and there are things that you can put on your vision board. Your career goals as well, community goals, like I said earlier. For people who perhaps don't really know what they want, that's why I came up with these 3 questions that you should ask yourself. So what do I want to experience in life? How do I want to live my life? How do I want to have a relationship with people? Where are the places that I want to perhaps go to? How do I want to live my life in a that makes me happy? Another one is how do you want to grow and develop yourself? So these are like personal goals, things that are personal to you. How do you want to go about them? And so this will, and then the last one is what impact do you want to make in the world? And that could be coined around the community goals. So you can think about these things, and when this helps you to come up with ideas that you feel like are important to you, and you can put them on your vision board. So these are some vision board samples that I got online, just for us to have an idea that it's not something that is structured in one way or the other. It just can be any way you want to design something that is important to you. So in this case, this person is talking about health, love, fortune, job. Those are things that are important to that person. Maybe the person also wants to get a home sometime soon, or in that particular year. That vision, that fact that he has this design, or doesn't have to be, and also it doesn't have to be a design like this, right? It doesn't have to be something you design in maybe Canva, that which is also allowed as well. If something that you want to design in maybe using a design editor or something, that works totally fine as well. You can have something like that and design what you want. Here's another sample, another example. So you can see it's totally different from what the other person had. And this looks more like something that's, the cardboard idea that I gave earlier, where you can just have like a cardboard and paste different things on different pictures of important things that matter to you. It could even be from like a magazine. You can cut out pictures that resonate with you from magazines and post on your vision board. This is also another one. So I'm just trying to show that like it's up to you. It's a personal project, and so it's up to you how you design it. It could be cluttered, it could be spaced out, it could be any way you want it to be. And as long as what you're putting there are like important goals for your life. These are questions that I feel like some people may have challenges with, so someone may say, okay, what if I don't know what I want? So like I said earlier, we could use those 3 questions that I mentioned earlier. So what do I want to experience in life? What do you want to, what do I want to grow and how do I want to grow and develop myself? And what kind of impact do I want to make in the world? So those questions are things that could help you if you don't know what you want to do, or maybe you're still young, or you are not sure of what you want to do. These are things that you could help you come up with ideas of how you want to go about it. In some cases, some people could also ask, how do I handle the pressure of fulfilling everything on my board? So in the case, maybe you have a house, you want to have your house in that year, you want to get a car, or you want to go on trips, or you want to be able to be in an engineering case, maybe you want to be able to get a job as a Java engineer, or as an engineer generally, or you want to move from web development into data science, that kind of thing. How do you handle the pressure? I think one way you could handle that pressure is by celebrating your small wins. So a good example is if I say I want to read a book every month for the next 12 months. And for some reason, I'm not able to finish a book in a month. I'm able to finish that book in a month and a half, or in 2 months or 3 months. And when I finish reading that book, I celebrate that I actually finished reading that book. It's like I'm going to celebrate like I finished that book in 1 month. I'm going to celebrate that small win. Maybe I want to become a software engineer. I'm able to develop my first web application. Even though it is not a full-scale application, it's not able to handle a lot of load, I'm still going to celebrate that I was able to complete that application, and I've been able to deploy it and it's working fine, even if there are going to be some issues to deal with eventually. So celebrating small wins is one big way that I believe you can use to handle pressure. Also, another way to handle pressure is to break those goals into smaller pieces, and taking them a bit at a time, and not trying to accomplish everything at once. So a good example could be the book example that I gave earlier. So if you want to finish a book in a month, you know that you should start reading a piece every day. So instead of trying to finish the whole book in a whole day, so things like that, breaking your bigger goals into smaller chunks. Yeah. So I don't know if there are any questions from everyone. I don't know if I spent too much time.
It's fine. Does anyone have any questions for Ahmad?
I have a question. So presumably, like, as your goals kind of change over time, do you find that you have to redo these boards?
Yeah. So there are situations like that. So so a good example, it will be the idea that I gave, which is the book idea. So once you realize that, okay, perhaps maybe I have some other activities to do, and I can't, achieve one book per month, you can always adjust, to meet your goals, and say maybe a book every quarter, and you move along with that. Yeah, so that's one way. So yeah, you are open to, and that's one of the good things about vision boarding or planning generally, because it helps you to understand yourself. It helps you to realize, okay, these are my capabilities at this time, and then you're able to work along those what's your capabilities.
Cool, thank you.
Brilliant. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So, what do you think of? Obviously, we're talking about goals, right? But what do you think about? There's this concept about instead of focusing on goals, is focusing on systems or habits, so that your trajectory goes to that goal anyway. But instead of looking at your goals, is you track your habits or your behavior.
Yeah, so that's another way to go about it. And yeah, I've read a number of books that talk about creating systems around yourself, or creating habits around yourself, so that that helps you to achieve your goal. So yeah, so that comes, once you have your vision goal, your vision board, it helps you to know, like, it helps you to have an end in mind, right? This is where you are going to. No matter how much the system that you're building around yourself, you're building it towards a particular thing you are trying to achieve, right? So having that system is what ensures that you're able to achieve that goal. So a good example is, I'll still use the book because it seems like a very good example. You want to read a book, and of course there are different distractions here and there. You have your phones, you have TV, you have video games, you have friends that call you out for different things, and so could distract you from achieving those goals, even though you know that it's possible and it's achievable. And so in a situation like that, a way of creating a system is by having like an accountability partner that you can talk to and say, okay, you be my accountability partner. And then, so that is a way of creating a system that ensures that you're able to achieve your goal. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that. I can't believe that was your first lightning talk.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It was really good.
If you have any feedbacks for me, you can always hit me up on Twitter, and yeah, I'll be glad to respond. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so our next talk is from Salong. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, brilliant. And your talk is, I believe test-driven development is something every developer should know.
Definitely, yes. Thank you. Let me start by sharing my screen. Do let me know if you can see.
Yeah,
can do.
Okay, thank you. So yes, today I will be talking about why I believe test-driven development is something that every developer should know. Thank you for having me here. So my name is Solange, and I am a senior consultant at Codurance. I believe test-driven development is something that will skyrocket your technical skills because it provides fast feedback. It leads to a more modular and maintainable code base and increases your productivity. My talk is aimed at mostly junior developers, but any other developer as well who has not yet embraced test-driven development. So TDD will skyrocket your technical skills because it provides fast feedback. When I started my career a long time ago as a junior developer, I was on a team where we would receive requirements from the product team, and then we would proceed with the implementation. And once we felt that we were done, we pass that on to the next team to test. They will start the testing cycle. And every time they found a problem with our implementation, they'll come back to us for us to fix. And then we would we will fix it, and then we will pass it on to them again. And then they'll test again. And if there was any other problem, they'll come back to us. And that could go on for quite a long time. And we would find ourselves, with development cycles that went from I don't know, up to 4 months or 6 months before these functionalities can make it to production. Now, TDD will shorten this feedback loop and the development cycle, because as you write your test first, as soon as you're done with your implementation, you know whether it satisfies your requirements or not. With that, at the minute we started adopting TDD, we found that we reduced our development cycles from 6 months to a couple of months, and then to a couple of weeks, and eventually to a few days. And as Ken Beck, who popularized test-driven development, puts it, with TDD, you write your own tests and you don't have to wait 20 times a day for someone else to write them in order to validate your implementation. Next point is, I believe TDD will skyrocket your technical skills because it leads to a more modular and maintainable code base. So going back to my own experience as a junior developer, we used to, when solving problems, we used to tackle them in its entirety. You'd look at a problem and you try to solve it in its entirety, and the implementation would follow, meaning that you will end up with fewer components, but that were huge. You'd have a very lengthy method, or a very lengthy function, or a very lengthy class that tried to do way too much all at once. And that was very difficult to read. It was very difficult to maintain, or even to debug, for example. And sometimes you would make a change here on the left, and then you'd see unexpected consequences on the right. It was very, very difficult. What we found with test-driven development is that it really forces you to spend more time breaking down the problem that you're trying to solve into smaller chunks of functionalities. And the implementation we follow, you end up with many more components, but that are much smaller, that are specialized, and they do one thing and one thing only. And that will absolutely delight your, for example, your code reviewers, maybe senior members on your team or your managers. That means that debugging becomes much easier, and evolving that code base is also much, much, much easier. The third point I had in mind is TDD will definitely skyrocket your technical skills because it increases your productivity. So Martin Fowler, one of the forefathers of the Agile Manifesto, said, and I quote, "I find that writing unit tests first actually increases my programming speed." Likewise, Ron Jeffries, who is another signatory of the Agile Manifesto, when he was asked why should we adopt TDD, he said in one word, productivity. Test-driven development is the most cost-effective path to producing running software that works. And as I explained earlier, tying back to what I said before, we found ourselves really tremendously reducing our development cycles from multiple months to a few days. And, you know, as a junior developer, as a developer in general, if you are able to reduce your development cycle and you deliver fast, with that increased productivity, that will definitely award you more responsibility from your managers, for example, and that will help your career progression. So in conclusion, I really believe that learning TDD will help your career, will skyrocket your technical skills because it provides you fast feedback. It tells you whether your implementation is as expected. It leads to a modular and more maintainable code base, and it increases your productivity. And with that, I would love to think that I've motivated at least one person to look into test-driven development. And to help you get started, I would recommend you check out Ken Beck's book, Test-Driven Development by Example. Any questions for me?
Okay, brilliant. Does anyone have any questions for Solange?
Have you got much experience dealing with teams that are reluctant to adopt something like this, and how do you sort of like approach those situations?
Yes, definitely. So the way we've tried to, well, alongside my career, the way we've tried to convince teams to adopt test-driven development is really by sitting alongside them and walking them through the process by example. Definitely, that I have found to be more convincing because they get to see the benefit immediately. It's all about fast feedback. So that's been the most effective way I found to get teams to adopt test-driven development.
That's great. Cheers.
Any other questions?
No?
Okay. Oh, well, brilliant. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our next talk is from Aaron. Can I just check the title with you? Are you talking sharing through writing, Aaron?
Yeah,
is
that's
that
the one.
Okay. Brilliant.
Let me just bring up the stuff. Hopefully everyone can see a big load of blue.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll just set a bit of context for this. So this talk is about sort of my personal experience of like starting to write in the public, trying to share what I'm doing and sharing what I'm learning, sort of like outside of one sort of organization, right? So again, some details there just so people will get. I'll put them back at the end, and I'll send links to the slide deck and stuff in case you're interested. So this sort of story starts before I joined Brightpearl, where I'm an SDET, a test engineer. It depends what you want to talk about. So my previous experience when this sort of story kicks off, I was working in government. So I was working as a test manager and engineer. And a lot of what I was doing was working with people, sort of like coaching, mentoring, figuring out ways to do stuff, kind of trying to solve problems, coming up with training material, doing actual testing on teams. And what I kept finding was I was putting a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of what I felt was some good stuff like into places, right? Private repos, private Confluent pages, even private SharePoint pages where knowledge goes to die, right? I was kind of thinking, this is pretty good, like be able to share some information, but only if people can find it. So I kind of started thinking about how can I do something better, right? I kind of want to start writing publicly. I've seen people do it. There's some people who've done some really good stuff, and I probably wouldn't have been able to solve half the problems I've solved in my career without other people sort of sharing and trying to write. So I was trying to think about what might like sort of motivate me to do this sort of thing. So I kind of I think I can't remember. I've seen words like this before, and I can't think of exactly where they're attributed to. But if something's written down, it's going to be remembered. Remembered by hearers of debate, but if it's written down, it'll be remembered by someone, hopefully, right? So in my organization, I was doing lots of stuff. I was acting as an SME for a lot of people and teams. I had lots of people come up from time to time. It probably resonates with a lot of people. People ask you questions going like, hey, Solange, I've got this problem. Don't suppose you have any idea how to solve it. And you just have that moment of kind of going, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've tackled this before. It was a while ago. I can't quite remember exactly what I did, but I've got a note. I can remember a few things, right? And you kind of give people what you know, and you kind of, they're satisfied because they're unblocked and they can kind of solve something, but you're kind of just there going, I've actually solved this, or I probably could have done more, right? So solving those problems, not remembering the detail, not doing the thing in the moment to actually write down the solution and sort of like, broadcast that widely. And the other thing I had as well was I was answering a lot of the same questions, right? Like everyone, as we all do, you get the same sort of stuff, particularly in my previous place when we had a lot of new junior members come in, a lot of churn, a lot of like recruitment. You get people asking same sort of questions, and you kind of go, I should probably write this down somewhere. I should put this somewhere and solve people's problems and help people, sort their own situations out. Which I did. So a lot of my information went straight into like a sort of a wiki, like a test handbook, and new people kind of directed there. Most of the questions were answered. If not, kind of take that feedback, iterate and improve. So, I kind of got into this flow of where I was writing a lot of stuff, and even some of it was good and helped solve some problems, I think. But it was all internal, right? There was like, a very detailed onboarding sort of program for new test people to get them into up to speed with our automation stack. Publish some stuff on GitHub about our sort of test framework and the rules and principles around that. And a whole kind of like gamut of stuff. I kind of thought, I'm not too bad at this. And I think there's some useful stuff in here that could probably be shared wider. So I've got here in government, and we've got a couple of design principles. One of them, one that resonates strongest with me, even now that I'm not in government anymore, is about working in the open. Like working in the open makes things better, right? That's the fundamentals of like open source software. If we put stuff out there, we've got a better chance for people to input feedback and kind of come up with a better thing. So I thought, right, if I'm putting some stuff out there, it might help someone, it might solve some problems, it might prompt some interesting conversation, it might help them avoid making the same mistakes I made and probably dozens, hundreds of people have made before. And the other thing, which was a much more selfish point of view, was I wanted to change. I wanted to kind of change the role. I wasn't sure that I could actually do anything anymore, or if I could ever do anything. And I was trying to figure out a way to sort of like improve things for myself, really. So I thought, great, I've decided I'm not too bad at this writing lark. I think I've helped some people. What do I do next? It's interesting that, we've already mentioned goals a couple of times today. I thought, right, and then this is the goal, and I set 4 very simple words to publish 1 blog post. How hard can it be, right? Until you start sitting down and thinking about how do I actually do this, and you get an absolute massive amount of questions, right? Probably most people here have read some blogs, some good ones, some bad ones, some stuff in between. What is good? What does a good one look like? What's the difference between a blog post and an article and an entire book? Where do we go to get this sort of stuff? There's lots of different approaches. You got Medium, you've got like build your own stuff on WordPress, you got a whole bunch of stuff. What do I have to talk about? I work at the time I worked in testing, I still do. I worked in government. I don't work in government anymore. I used to work in a lot of community stuff, like in turn inside my organization across government. I'm a big fan of community. Lots of stuff, but how do you even figure out what people want to know about? And I think that's sort of main thing, like, who am I writing for? So, lots and lots of questions. I can see why people don't start like anything, right? The hardest thing to do with anything is just start. So, I kind of thought about what stuff have I got already in place. I've got a couple of groups. So, we're here as a group. We're sort of a network, a community of people who are talking, sharing ideas, sharing input. I reached out to some other ones, different forums, different groups, Slack spaces, to kind of answer the sort of get some ideas from people, maybe find some support networks. In terms of the how, also there's a whole bajillion ways of doing it. I opted for some GitHub pages and Jekyll for very simple stuff, so I didn't have to worry too much about web hosting and building my own site and maintaining it. GitHub pages, just markdown attached to my sort of GitHub repo. Nice and easy. I'm very lazy. I figured this might be the sort of thing that if I end up dropping it, I don't want to have to, and if I drop it for a few months and pick it back up, I don't want to have weeks of work to sort of rebuild a thing from scratch to basically, show some words on the screen. And then more and more things. I started doing a lot of work with initial testing. I wrote some articles for them, and by going through their process of review, I kind of learned a lot more stuff. So I felt a bit more confident to sort of writing. So, it's kind of like figuring out what you want to achieve, if anything. Just get something out there. Kind of the nice thing is just because you put something on the internet doesn't mean anybody cares, which is good and bad. Good that what you say somebody might like, other people might not, but there's a very good chance nobody's going to care. So that's pretty cool, which probably doesn't sound motivating, but for me it kind of was. So I was thinking again of like the who am I writing this for, and it was basically just me. If I thought about what we've all been in situations, you're down a rabbit hole, you've gotten to a solution, you kind of just thought, I wish I found this article, or I wish I knew this little piece of information that helped me solve my problem much earlier. That's why I decided I'm going to write for me, people like me, whatever that looks like. And that's a scary future if there's lots of people like me. I thought, this goes back to someone from government called Ellie Craven. She's done a lot of work in the GDS side, gov stuff, and this is again one of those tenets of like service design in government. Do the hard work to make it easier for other people, right? And I thought that, again, another one of those principles that resonated. I don't want to have to resolve the same problem again. I don't want to have to rack my brains for the crumbs of solutions to things that I've solved. And similarly, other people have, put forward how they've done stuff, and I've learned from it. So I thought, right, there's a good time to sort of feedback. So, do some work so other people, most likely me, and hope, months, years down the line, to benefit. Because there's nothing worse when you're like making a mistake once, twice, 5 or 6 times. That's pretty poor, isn't it? So being able to kind of think, reflect, process what you've been up against for your last weeks and months, distill it down into the problem, your thinking, your approaches, and your solutions. It's a pretty nice way to sort of like wrap stuff up and hopefully avoid you, prevent you making the same mistake again. So I'm saying here, I'm not a great writer. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't written anything, this year. If you look at my blog, I'm very much an occasional blogger, but even I have seen already like some really positive sort of things. We probably all have some people that publish quite frequently to a very high standard. They put a lot of work and a lot of commitment, and that gets them where they are. But what if you're like me, or you just, you've kind of got a few ideas, you're thinking you kind of want to make your life a little bit easier going down the line. What's in it for you? That's why we do these talks. That's why we do this stuff. So I kind of see it in 2 stages. You've got your short-term and your long-term benefits. And there's probably some stuff that goes between medium. Short-term, it just kind of makes you stop for a bit, right? It depends on what way you're working. If you're working in sort of, agile sort of things, or you're working in sprints, it can be pretty full on. You're going from one problem to the next, and sometimes you don't get a chance to stop, reflect on the entire situation, and kind of take out some key learning points or some key solutions, right? So, just sitting down with a blank screen in front, you're trying to write about something, makes you just stop for a few minutes and just think. If you're like me, you're looking for it, like you're using that as a way to kind of get out, get a new job. It's totally useful, putting some content out. Everybody likes to see, everyone likes to see that you're a real person who's done some stuff, you're not just some sort of catfish. Really nice way as well. It kind of prompted me to engage more with some communities, so a bit more ministry, testing some writers guilds, that sort of stuff. So finding your peers, finding your tribe. I kind of learned quite a lot, really. Learned a bit more about like how GitHub does stuff with GitHub pages, a bit of like Jekyll, a bit of Ruby, a bit of Markdown. Again, just something a bit fun, something new to learn. Same thing. Learned a lot more about how to write well. I've tried to take that in from my current role, where again in a similar place where I'm writing some new stuff. Me and my team are writing a lot more documentation, and again, try to apply those things you've learned over time to make stuff good for you, for your team, and for the next sort of people to come in. Long term, I think it's the sort of, again, depending on what you want to do, it's the sort of idea. I think Beth Marshall, and she's a tester in the community. She kind of talked before about like quite a bit about building a brand. So if you want to have a brand, these are the sort of things that you can feed into that, can build you up as a person, build you up as a commodity, if you like. But again, I think the main thing for me was that open source, right? I have some stuff that I've written down. Some of it might be wrong, some of it might be right. Some people might find that absolute pants, and other people might learn something from it. So it's there for people to, consume, and however they see fit. And it's there for me to kind of consume later. The kind of thing I've already talked about, give you some new opportunities, work with ministry of testing, some new contacts from there. You're reaching out to communities, talking to different people, that just kind of grows those opportunities. Again, I think your history of what you've done kind of really just feeds back into your open source. Open source you learn, and open source you experience, show that depth and breadth of different things that you've tackled. So even if you're like me, who you don't write all the time, you kind of think, and I kind of fancy I probably should do something, give it a go, get started. Even if you don't do it consistently, or you don't dedicate your life to being a blogger, there are benefits like short, medium, and long term. And it's a really great way to just change a little bit how you approach situations, and particularly just take that time to reflect. And that's me. So I don't know if anyone's got any specific questions on any of that stuff.
Does anyone have any questions for Aaron?
Deafening silence, lovely.
I think you must have covered everything really well. Thank you so much. That was a really great talk. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
No problem. Cheers.
Okay, so our next talk is from, bear with me, just let me find this, from Katerina.
Yeah.
Katerina, I'm not sure what the title of your talk is.
It's from chaos to efficiency.
Right, okay. Are you okay to go ahead?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hi everyone. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm Katerina. I'm a mobile chapter lead at Plum. And today I'm here to talk about a process that we took more precisely in the iOS team that took us from a chaos situation to being more efficient and having more clarity. So yeah, we were in a status of chaos, and this chaos was more in terms of technically in our project, we didn't know where we were going. We had a lot of questions, a lot of doubts, and this was because our team was growing. We had new members joining the team, and with new people joining the team, people come with a lot of ideas. And our project had a bit of technical debt, lacked on some things like a proper testing strategy, like a good architecture, and basically ensuring that also everyone was following the same practices. So a lot of ideas were coming from everyone in the team. And of course, everyone had a lot of good intentions to improve our project. But this started creating a lot of battles in terms of people proposing too many things. At the same time, these things sometimes had dependencies with each other. Then we couldn't really understand what were our priorities, what we should tackle first, how to decide on a proper solution. And this created a lot of uncertainty on the future of our project. And I would like to say that this was related to work that it's not feature specific, is more work that is called platform work, which is work that is across the whole project and that impacts all the features that are developed on top of it. So because we were so overwhelmed, we had to do something to stop this cycle, because we actually had to be proactive and do some work. And in this chaos, we couldn't actually achieve anything. And this moved us to, create a process that would help us define our North Star, which would be our goal that we would like to achieve in terms of tasks that we would like to see implemented in the project that we thought would be the priority. And to do this, we started by brainstorming, which we call defining the stars. So how we did it, we created a board, of course, nowadays not a whiteboard in a wall, but a virtual one where people could add sticky notes to it. And this could be anything. So we gathered our thoughts. People wrote down their ideas without any kind of structure, just let the ideas come up to their minds and noting them down. And then after this, we organized each ideas into what we called constellations, which were groups of stars, of ideas that were related to the same bigger topic or area. So we grouped similar topics. Some of them we combined because they had the same purpose behind, they have the same objective, just written differently. And we created these main areas. And after we've done this, we went through each area and we analyzed each constellation and discussed what were the most important criteria inside that constellation that we really wanted to implement. So we discussed each one, and then we added sticky notes that represented work that we had wanted to do. We added this in a matrix of value effort. So value means that it's the value that task will bring in the end to the user, because our work should always have impact at the end, a positive impact in our user. And that's always the reason why we do something. But of course, as in immediate term, it can have different impacts, like it can speed development, it can improve our testing, that will improve stability of the app. So this can have different immediate values, but then in the end it will have to have user value. So we discussed the value and we discussed the effort, which means how much effort a task would require to be completed. This is in terms of investigation, in terms of being very complex, touching a lot of areas in the code that are very sensitive. So we had to consider all this, or being very, very big task in terms of having to write a lot of code. So we had to understand all of these criteria, and then allocate these tasks in this matrix and understand what, based on this analysis, we could understand what would be the highest priority ones. In this matrix, we would also define the ones that had dependencies. So the arrows that we see in that image are the tasks that have dependencies on each other. So the arrow is pointing to the one that has to be done first to then accomplish the other ones. So we could understand which ones had to take priority. And once we had this all set, we would then finally move to an efficient way of working and of defining what were the tasks and the goals that we had to focus on, and have a clear path of where we wanted to go. And so we were able to review our North Star, where we would build a roadmap with the tasks that we found from the matrix that were higher priority and would bring more value, and in terms of effort they would be accomplished, and then also to define this roadmap, we would have to discuss the availability of the engineers to do this, because the engineers would also be involved in feature work, which goes alongside this work. So this availability would be important. Also align engineers' interests, because these tasks can also be aligned with where the engineer prefers, which tasks the engineer prefers to do, and finally assign the owners to these tasks, which means that we would finally have someone that we could go to and ask how things are, what is left to be done, and feel that we could rely on this person that to ensure that this task would be done. So after we have this North Star defined, we finally have our scope what we want to do in terms of technical implementation in our project. We understand the dependencies to understand what needs to be done first. So the priorities are set and we keep adjusting them. Every initiative has an owner. Once it goes to the roadmap, it has to have an owner. All the ideas are discussed and analyzed, and we do this every quarter. So every quarter we have this meeting where we go through the stars. We add if we want to. We move the stars to constellations. We create new constellations if we need to. And then we position we discuss the constellations. We see if we need to update the matrix, if we need to add something or change the value or effort or something that is already there. And we build the roadmap for that quarter. And this brings more stability and more clarity for the future of our project and help us move forward with the technical implementations that we need to do. And yeah, this is all for me. Thanks a lot for being here. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Katerina? It sounds like, again, Katerina, you've said everything, covered everything in your talk. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the last of our speakers. So just to say thank you to everyone who's spoken today. You've done a really amazing job. Really impressive. This is the first time I've been to one of these events and I really enjoyed it. I'm really impressed with what you've done today. If anyone ever wants to get into speaking or have a go at doing anything like this, then you can connect with me. I'm Laura Vieira, or with Barry, or anyone on LJC Slack, and they'll be happy to help you. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Everyone.
Bye.